Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 693. Attempt. After putting down the fountain pen in his hand, Klein removed the spirit pendulum from his left wrist, holding it in one hand and letting it hang down over the paper in close proximity. Edwina is in the story of this book. Klein closed his eyes and silently repeated the divination statement. After he recited the statement, he opened his eyes and saw the topaz pendants spinning clockwise. This meant that Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina was inside Grozel's travels. It really is a world inside a book. Furthermore, the situation inside is very special. Without new characters, the story isn't able to continue. Klein indiscernibly nodded. Wounding the silver chain and the topaz pendant around his wrist again, he picked up a dark red fountain pen and wrote a new divination statement. The method to entering Grozel's travels. This time, he used dream divination. In the gray, hazy world, he saw indistinct figures. The figures were of varying sizes, some huge, others slender. The thing all of them had in common was that they held a book with pages of yellowish-brown goatskin. The following developments branched off into two scenarios. A number of them vanished silently with Grozel's travels on them. The others would accidentally or deliberately drip their blood on the cover while carrying Grozel's travels with them before suddenly vanishing. The scene shattered and Klein opened his eyes to see the model table in front of him. He frowned as he made an interpretation. To enter or activate Grozel's travels, it either needs prolonged contact with it to a certain extent, or you would need to drip one's blood onto the cover? Isn't that too simple? Perhaps it's really that simple. In the story, the lone soldier's first appearance was as an ordinary person who didn't know mysticism. With the help of his companions, he slowly became a disciplinary paladin. Therefore, the activation method isn't too complicated. An ordinary person is able to accomplish it. A small number of researchers before this, including Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina, were beyonders with sufficient amounts of mysticism knowledge. They knew not to rashly drip their blood, otherwise death might occur without them even knowing it. This is akin to ordinary people using the correct form of magic mirror divination. It's very easy to provoke a powerful existence, or secret existence. It's why no problems happen to them. Furthermore, Edwina keeps Grozel's travels in the collector's room most of the time, and only interacts with it occasionally. As such, it was only when she recently had a new research concept that she had prolonged contact with it, completing the condition required to activate the book. Yes, even Erodes only knew that there's something strange with the book. Many of the past owners had vanished, and it's suspected to have something to do with the Dragons and City of Miracles, Liveseed. This means that Grozel's travels will interfere with its surroundings when being activated. Therefore, most of the collectors in the past do not know of its problem and had no thoughts of studying it. The owners who disappeared likely aren't limited to the ones in the story. The others might have died for all kinds of reasons, failing to leave their names in the book. Klein focused again and made another divination, hoping to obtain the method to leave Grozel's travels. This time, he saw a more tempestuous blizzard in the gray, hazy dreamscape. He saw a gigantic figure at the top of an ice peak. It was a translucent dragon who remained nearly 5 meters tall while standing on all fours. It resembled a lizard's cousin and had an ugly face with eerie blue eyes. It had a thick, powerful tail and a pair of gigantic wings covered in a skin membrane on its back. It seemed to blot out the sky simply by spreading its wings. Its scales resembled ice crystals as they swirled with a crystalline glow. It was the most beautiful and dreamy part of its entire body. Suddenly, the dragon, which resembled an ice sculpture, raised its neck and body, and it let out a terrifying roar that penetrated through the blizzard. At that moment, it reached 10 meters tall by standing up on its hind legs. King of the North. That frost dragon. Klein left the dream and tapped the armrest of the high-backed chair. His interpretation of the divination revelation was that the key to leaving Grozel's travels lay with the King of the North. Klein's initial guess was that only by helping the main lead, Grozel, accomplish his goal, slaying the frost dragon, would the story come to a complete end, opening a passageway to exit the book. However, I can also attempt to see if I can forcibly break open the barrier between the world in the book and the real world. Klein relied on his rich experience to quickly come up with an attempt. He first picked up the Black Emperor card, which was facing down, and he infused it into his spirit body. Suddenly, Klein's body was covered in black full-body armor. On his head was a heavy crown as his aura became majestic and dignified. It exuded an awe-inspiring vibe. Following that, he stirred the powers of the mysterious space above the gray fog to the limit, making them surge over like a tidal wave. Upon seeing this scene, Klein didn't hesitate to summon the sea god's scepter from the junk pile before he infused his spirituality within. The blue gems on the end of the bone scepter lit up one after another, emitting a blinding luster. Countless silver bolts of lightning surfaced as they zapped about the grand palace, as though they were forming a sea of lightning. Finally, Klein used the suppressive power and balance from the Black Emperor's loftiness to infuse the stirred powers into the lightning storm. Rumble! Thunder resonated above the gray fog and into the distance as thick bolts of lightning smote down, striking Grozel's travels. Blinding light enveloped the entire palace for a full 20 seconds. After everything was over, Klein looked at the target again and discovered the model table was in shambles. As for the dark brown leather book, it was completely unharmed. Only its ends curled up a little. It's far more impressive than I imagined. That's right, how can an item which can create a whole new book world be simple? Heh, I wouldn't have made a loss buying it for £8,000 back then. It can be used as a shield. It can definitely defend against attacks from saints. The only problem is its tiny size. It won't be able to shield much. Klein's thoughts raced as the bronze table was quickly restored to normal. Since there was no way to forcibly tear open the barrier between the world inside the book and the real world, he could only consider how to enter it according to the normal procedures. Get some blood, bring it up here and smear it across the cover, and then enter as a spirit body with the Blood Emperor card and Sea God's scepter? This way, I don't have to worry about encountering King of the Five Seas, Nast, as there's no way he can sense it. He won't be able to enter the world inside the book either. But the problem lies in the fact that rescuing Vice Admiral Iceberg this way will allow her to determine that Gehrman Sparrow is Hero Bandit Black Emperor. Yes, there's a more important problem. Entering with a spirit body means that the body is still in the outside world, the captain's cabin of the Golden Dream. I have no idea how time flows in the world inside the book. It might easily be a few days. That way, my body might meet with an accident since it lacks protection. I'm in unfamiliar territory as well. When the time comes, I might rescue Edwina, but I would find myself gone. That would be fun. Klein quickly rejected the idea of entering as a spirit body. He didn't trust most of the people on the Golden Dream, and he also felt wary of the strongest hunter, Anderson. His attempt to divine if it was dangerous to enter the book to rescue Edwina was met with failure. Klein thought deeply for a moment before returning to the real world. Then, he unhurriedly brought back Grozel's travels and removed the traces of the ritual. Looking out the window at the impending dusk, he walked to the captain's cabin's door, unlocked the door, and opened it. Gourmet Brew Walls, Singer Orpheus, and company were all outside. None of them had left. There were even sailors who peeked their heads out from the staircase. Any clues? Brew Walls blurted out his question, but he didn't hear his voice because everyone at the door was asking the same question. Klein swept his gaze and nodded. Instantly he heard sighs of relief, then he saw all kinds of happy and excited expressions. If I were to vanish one day, who would act like that? Klein focused his thoughts and said to Danitz, I need an assistant. With that said, he turned to walk to the desk. All right. Danitz hurriedly followed and familiarly locked the door. Is there anything you need of me? He hurriedly asked. He looked as though he could already see his captain being rescued through his hard work. Klein stood by the desk and solemnly said, What happens next will be very dangerous. Very dangerous? Danitz instinctively gritted his teeth. You might vanish or even die immediately. Klein told him the worst possible outcome. Seeing how serious the madman, Gehrman Sparrow, was, Danitz instantly understood the gravity of the situation. His heart sank as he subconsciously became frantic. What does this have to do with rescuing Captain? It's directly related, Klein answered succinctly. Dannett's expression twisted as he fell silent for 2 seconds. What will happen if nothing is done? Your captain might be left there forever, or she might die in the next second, Klein said truthfully. Dannett's turned agape as he closed his mouth in silence. His eyes turned adrift for a few seconds before they focused back on Gehrman Sparrow's face. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Let's begin." Dog Shaster's tea! He softly cursed himself. Klein picked up the pen and paper on the table, scribbled a note, and folded it into a square before handing it to Dannett's. Put it into your pocket. Read it after you enter. Enter? Dannett's asked, puzzled and clueless. As he spoke, he automatically took the paper slip and stuffed it into his trouser pocket. Klein didn't reply as he pointed at Grozel's travels. Smear some of your blood on the book's cover. This? As Dannett's made a vague guess, he picked up the bronze dagger beside him and nodded heavily. All right.